Hi everybody, Hawk here. Look at this, it's the Behringer MonoPoly. I've been super excited about this synthesizer because I had the original Korg MonoPoly back in the day. And honestly, I loved that synthesizer. I knew I had something special on my hands, but I didn't really understand how to program it. So this is going to be really interesting to see how the MonoPoly, this Behringer MonoPoly, stacks up to the original in my memory. And yeah, let's get into this. But before we do, remember to subscribe to my friends over at Synth and Software Magazine. They are inspiring electronic music producers and performers. And hey, it's free. Links below. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details of this beast, I did a quick little demo just to show off all the different types of sounds this can make. And my demo includes a kick and snare patch, one patch with kick and snare tones in it, which I'm pretty proud of, I might add. And also some chords and classic 80s bass line, 16th note bass line, and then just some riffage. So it's a mix, it's got plenty of reverb on it because this is a completely dry synth and you're going to want to put reverb and some delay effects and things on it. And then after we take a listen to that, then I will get into all of the details and we'll look at the specifics of the synthesizer. So check this out. The Behringer MonoPoly measures 14.2 inches deep by 22.5 inches wide and 3.5 inches tall. It weighs in at 22.7 pounds. This makes it quite a bit smaller and lighter than the original Korg MonoPoly. Here's the relative size of the Behringer to the original. It's seriously built like a tank with a full metal chassis and wood side panels. Its knobs and switches feel wonderfully solid. On the back panel here, you have just about every connection you could possibly want. You have your monophonic output, your headphones output, your CV input and output, your trigger input and output that can be switched between 15 volts and ground. You've got the VCO FM input so you can control your voltage controlled oscillator. And you can also control your filter here with a VCF input. You can control the portamento. And very important, the sync input on the arpeggio. And the arpeggiator will respond to 24 and 48 pulses per quarter note PPQ. And full size MIDI input and outputs. In, out, and through, actually, which is fantastic, along with the MIDI in and out on USB, and obviously a big upgrade to the original MonoPoly, which didn't have these. It's powered by a standard DC input wall wart and a very thoughtful little cable tie for security here so that your DC plug doesn't yank out so easily. And then on the back panel here, check this out. You've got the ability to fine-tune your VCOs and even the noise level. This is super easy and accessible. And also the tilt panel, as you can see, tilt panel, 3 levels of tilt here with this, holds this up here. So there's level 1, level 2, and level 3, or maybe that's backwards. Here's level 3. Check out that tilt. And level 1, but yeah, that is a fantastic upgrade to the original. The MonoPoly features 4 independent VCOs because 4 VCOs is way better than 2 oscillators or 3 oscillators. It's 4 VCOs. Pretty cool. Each VCO features levels, independent levels, independent octaves. You can choose a different waveform for each VCO. Each VCO, or the 3 VCOs here, can be all tuned, and then there's a master tune. So let's take a listen to one of the VCOs and check out the waveforms. So I'll turn all the other VCOs down to 0 there. And we'll start with the triangle waveform. So let's check that out. Nice basic triangle. And we'll go to the sawtooth. Good sounding sawtooth. And then let's check out the pulse width, which is controlled manually right here. So if I play my pulse width, basically a pulse, and then I can vary the width. And so with this control here, we're varying the width of the pulse, negative or positive values. That's really cool. And then the other one is pulse width modulation. So instead of varying the width manually, we can assign an LFO over here on waveform MG1. And that waveform then modulates according to our speed there, our intensity here. So we'll start with the triangle waveform here. And then we'll check out the sawtooth. The reverse sawtooth. And then the pulse width. So that's really cool that you can modulate it manually with pulse width here, or assign it a modulator with different wave shapes here, and then, the intensity knob here. Lots of options there on your wave shapes. All 4 VCOs are run through the same filter here, typical paraphonic operation. It's a 24 dB per octave low pass filter with cutoff and resonance. Let's turn on all of these other oscillators here and we'll take a listen to it here. So I'll turn these up here. Switch this. All right, let's take a listen to the cutoff here. Give it some resonance. There's also this cool envelope generator intensity, which goes positive and negative values. And of course, keyboard tracking. Also, the filter is self-oscillating. Let me see if I can get that going here. There, you can hear that there. Let's turn down the level. There it is. Hold your ears. Self-oscillating filter there. So yeah, wicked sounding filter. The ability to set each VCO to its own wave shape and octave opens up a wealth of amazing synthesis possibilities. The MonoPoly gives you 4 distinct ways to access all of these independent VCOs. The first one, Poly right here, is pretty typical. You play all your notes and you hear all of the VCOs. Up to four notes at a time. Unison share is really cool because it intelligently combines the VCOs. So if I'm playing one note, it'll give me a unison, so it'll play all 4 VCOs at the same time. If I play 2 notes, so it's playing playing 2 VCOs at a time, 3 notes. You can see that it's playing each of the independent VCOs and then adding the 4th one there. So that's great. Unison share makes the sound a lot fatter, which is fantastic, instead of just the independent VCOs. And then unison here, which is just plays all the notes at the same time, or plays all the VCOs at the same time. So there's no chorus effect on here, like maybe one of the old Roland synths, but there's this detune, which detunes the oscillators to themselves, and it creates a chorusing effect here. And of course, that's best if we can get them all to the same wave shape here, and to the same octave, right? And probably hear it even better with a sawtooth, so let's put it with sawtooth. So that's a nice little subtle chorusing effect, or it can be subtle or more distinctive here. So subtle or more exaggerated there. And then chord memory, which is great because it allows you to play a chord and then play those chords from the individual notes. So for chord memory, we want to go to Poly here, and then we want to play a chord. So I'll play just a C minor. Hit chord memory, and now I'll play those intervals, the C minor chord here, on whatever note I play. I love that effect. Yeah, so 4 different ways of accessing the independent VCOs. Very cool. The MonoPoly also has a really cool onboard arpeggiator right here. And how the arpeggiator reacts is dependent on your playback mode here. So in unison, it's a pretty typical arpeggiator. And I want to turn it on. And then I want to turn up the frequency MG2. That determines the rate of the arpeggiator. We can go 2 octaves up, all the way up and down. We can also go just up, just down. So totally typical arpeggiator there. If we switch to poly mode, then it gets really interesting because the arpeggiator now will step through each of the VCOs. See the way it's stepping through the VCOs? So if I change each of these wave shapes here, and even maybe like change some octaves here, it starts getting really interesting. And a fun way to play this is to actually slow the rate down, all the way down. And then it's so slow that when you play the keyboard, you're actually manually triggering each voice. So yeah, really fun arpeggiator feature there. This effects section button here is not a typical like reverb or delay effects. It gives you instant access to hard sync and FM modulation right here. And it's one of the things that I think makes the MonoPoly an amazingly expressive synthesizer, because at the touch of a button, you can change very quickly from a nice sound to a more aggressive sound. So very expressive. So let me turn off the arpeggiator here. And then we'll go to unison mode for some lead sounds. And then I just very quickly press this button, and here, watch what happens. And we have options here. We have, that's basically a hard sync there. And then we have frequency modulation here. And then we can combine the two, and we can adjust the amount that we want. Intensity. So really, really neat little perk there in terms of being able to bring in your hard sync, your frequency modulation, your FN mod for those more aggressive lead sounds or bass sounds, whatever you want. The mod wheel here called MG1 and the bend wheel can both be assigned to VCF, pitch, or VCO, slave VCO, which is part of the effects section here. And combining these with the effects button here really makes for a lot of different sound palettes and options right at your fingertips as you're playing. So for example, switch this to VCO1. So bring in some modulation. And then the pitch. So you've got these 3 controls right at your fingertips. So again, making the MonoPoly an amazing lead synth, sort of emulate some of those guitar tones and very quickly access these different sonic palettes with the touch of a button or the push of a wheel. Well, there you go. The Behringer MonoPoly. I'm pretty impressed. Is it better than the original? Ooh, yeah, they're different. Is it better than the original? I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I would actually say, yeah, it's better than the original. Why? Because it's got all these cool updates, like just something as simple as the MIDI on it and the tilting front panel. Plus, the original, honestly, at like $3,000 for the original plus lots of maintenance. Yeah, this is a much better deal, hands down. Sound quality wise, the originals all have a slightly different quality to them, but this sounds close enough. I mean, it really does. And when I say the originals have different sound qualities to them, because each of those originals are so old, over 30 years old at this point, actually closer to 40 years old at this point. These are all pretty standardized, but they really sound good. I think the sound tests that I've done pretty much prove that. So yeah, the other thing is I would really feel very comfortable taking this on the road, going on stage with this, as opposed to the $3,000 plus vintage original model. Yeah, I don't think that's such a good idea. So yeah, we can take this on the road. I'm liking that. And speaking of going on the road, Analog Cases, my friends over here at Analog Cases, they have an awesome case for this. So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to pack this off and I'm going to hit the road. So see you guys next time. Analog Cases for the win.